Just eat more food and you'll lose the weight. Have you ever heard that advice? All you got to do is eat more calories and the weight's just going to start flying off. This advice has been floating around the fitness industry for years and it still persists. Today, we are going to use an engineering concept called the iron triangle to show why this idea doesn't hold up. This claim doesn't hold up. We'll explore how misunderstandings, whether it's energy balance or other elements behind the scenes, are leading to people continuing to make this claim. You'll learn why what looks like eating more might actually be your first step toward effective fat loss, but not for the reasons you might expect. Welcome to Wits and Weights, the podcast that blends evidence and engineering to help you build smart, efficient systems to achieve your dream physique. I'm your host, Philip Pape, and today we're breaking down the eat more to lose weight idea, or shall I say myth, using a principle, again, straight from engineering, the iron triangle, also called the project management triangle or the cost quality schedule triangle. This notion that eating more will boost your metabolism, will speed up fat loss, has become very popular, and it often comes from a misunderstanding, namely of how many calories we are actually eating and actually burning. Just this week, I talked to somebody in one of the communities I'm in who didn't realize that your metabolism adapts and changes, and that's just one of the misunderstandings going on. Today, we'll uncover how people who think they're eating too little often find out they're eating more than they thought once they start tracking accurately. And that's the discovery that can make it seem like you are eating more to lose weight when really you're just finally eating the right amount for fat loss. I do want to give a quick shout out to listener Heather M, because Heather sent me a message about struggling with this advice that inspired today's episode. And her experience shows the confusion that many people face with calorie tracking and weight loss plateaus. Let's break down this myth using our engineering lens and uncover the truth about calories, metabolism, and effective fat loss in the context of the eat more to lose weight advice. Now, this advice usually pops up when someone has been dieting for a while and then they hit a plateau, they stop losing weight. And then they hear this idea, hey, you're probably just not eating enough. You need to eat more. If you eat more, you'll boost your metabolism and you'll start losing fat again. And it sounds very appealing, right? And it sounds like one of those, ooh, I didn't realize that. That must be it. Especially when people put the label science-based or evidence-based. And yes, I use those labels as well, but it's often used as a bait and switch to get you into their coaching program to say, look, all you've got to do is eat more food. Doesn't that sound great? But this is an oversimplified approach, and then it makes you more frustrated and confused when it doesn't work or doesn't work like you expect, or you get blamed by your coach for not hitting the exact number, and then, oh, you didn't hit your exact, 1953 calories that I told you to hit. You were over by 5 or 10, and that's why it's not working. And specifically, I'm talking about a real person here who wrote in, again, Heather. She was told to eat 2,000 calories a day. And when she went over by even 5 or 10, she was criticized for overeating, right? And this is ridiculous. Like, I can't imagine coaching somebody and being that much of an a-hole about it and blaming the client in that way. And obviously the guy had no idea what he was talking about. And that's why I have a podcast to kind of dispel these things, because this kind of advice is nonsense and it doesn't work and it's not going to be consistent and it causes so much confusion. And so here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to introduce something called the iron triangle, and then we're going to apply it to this concept. In engineering project management specifically, the iron triangle represents the balance between three factors that effectively compete with each other: cost, quality, and schedule. And the principle states that you cannot optimize all three simultaneously. If you improve one, it often means compromising on another. And so let's apply this concept to fat loss and this overall energy and calorie situation. First, we have cost. What is cost in our case? In our case, cost is energy. Your calories consumed, right? What you eat, your calorie intake, and your calories burned or expenditure. So it's just the balance of energy. That is your cost. Okay, the cost, generally thinking in fat loss, your cost is the deficit that you're in to be able to get that fat loss. The second leg of the triangle is quality. In our case, that quality is sustainability. It's how well you can adhere to the plan long term, how high quality the plan is so that you could actually adhere to it and get it done. And then the third leg is schedule or time. And in our case, that is our rate of loss, how quick we're going to go and lose the fat, right? And just as in engineering, we can't optimize all three. So think about engineering. If you want to go faster, if you want to create the product faster, it's going to cost more. It's going to cost more in terms of people and overtime in getting suppliers to send you parts faster, right? So you're going to have to compromise by costing more. Or if you want to go faster, you might have to lower the quality. You might have to reduce some of the requirements and not get as many bells and whistles in your product or software. So similarly, we can't optimize our energy balance and our sustainability and our rate of loss. In other words, we can't eat 5,000 calories, right? And lose fat. Or we can't go at a super fast rate of loss, like lose 3 pounds a week and maintain a decent amount of energy, right? We'd have to be in an extreme deficit to do that, right? Or we'd have to compromise sustainability and quality because it's so hard to do it. So it's the same idea. And let's just break each of these down so you can see what this has to do with the eating more to lose weight. Let's start with energy, calorie, energy balance, right? This is your cost. Okay. This is the foundation of fat loss. It's the foundation of changing your body mass, right? From a nutrition perspective, we're not even going to talk about strength training or specific macros. We're just talking about changing body mass. Your body needs a certain amount of energy to function, and especially to function optimally, right? That's where the compromise comes in. Like, we know we need a calorie deficit to lose weight, but if the calorie deficit's too high, we're going to start influencing negatively our hormones. We're going to lose energy. We're going to crash and burn. We're going to have cravings. We're not going to be able to adhere. Our sustainability is going to go down, right? So the size of your calorie deficit directly impacts the other two factors, your sustainability and your rate of loss, right? Now, let's talk about eating more. A slight increase in calories can sometimes help in terms of your energy, your metabolism, your hormones, right? But if you simply do so without regard for energy balance, it's not going to lead to fat loss. Unless you're in a deficit, you're not going to lose fat, period. You still have to be in a calorie deficit. All right, so let's set that aside for now. That's the first leg in the iron triangle. The second leg is our quality leg, sustainability. And this refers to how well you can adhere to your fat loss plan, both short-term and long-term, right? Meaning by long-term, I mean if it's going to take many weeks, we want to stick to it. But even in the short term, we don't want it to totally rip us apart within a week or two and then we give up. A more aggressive deficit might lead to faster results, but it could be harder to sustain due to increased hunger, lower energy, the impact to your social life, and how neurotic and obsessive you have to be about all the tracking and effectively saying no to things, right? We don't want to be in that state. This is where many people stumble when they're told to eat more. They might, again, feel better temporarily because they have more energy. Maybe they're no longer in a low energy state. But then if it puts them out of a deficit, if it puts them up to their maintenance calories or higher, it's not going to give them the fat loss. It's not going to be sustainable for fat loss either. Interesting, right? It goes both ways. That's the second leg. The third leg is your time, your schedule, which in our case is how fast we lose weight or lose fat. This is how quickly we go, our rate of loss. And yes, a larger deficit will lead to faster fat loss, but it might compromise sustainability, right? Because it's just too fast. You don't get to eat very much. You become hangry and miserable. And it could potentially lead to muscle loss, which is even more dangerous when we talk about fat loss. We don't want to lose muscle. If we go too fast, we're going to lose muscle. So when we go back to, should you eat more to lose weight? It often ignores all of these factors, right? But it essentially promises a violation of the iron triangle. It promises quick results without a cost, right? And the sustainability kind of falls in between because, of course, eating more is going to be more sustainable, but it's not going to give you fat loss. So we have to balance all of these that we consider the rate of loss along with the other two factors. So how do we do that, right? So if we're violating the iron triangle with this nonsense claim that you can eat more and lose weight, how do we apply the iron triangle to make it effective? All right. Again, let's start with energy, with cost. Instead of eating more, why don't we focus on eating the right amount, which means we have to actually create a deficit that aligns with our goals. And the only way to do that is to track and measure. And so here's where I'm going to talk about the biggest, I'll say, cause of people giving this advice is that you are typically, okay, let's put it this way. Let's say you do eat more and you start to lose weight. Is it because you ate more? No. It's because you think you're eating more. Why do you think you're eating more? Because you probably weren't tracking your calories accurately in the past. Now you are. And now that you know what you are eating, you probably start to tighten up what you eat in response to trying to hit certain targets. And you feel better and you have more protein, right? And now you set the deficit that you actually want. And it seems like you're eating more than you were before, but you're actually eating the accurate amount because of your tracking. And another reason for this is usually when you are not tracking, you're binging on the weekends, right? And you're starving yourselves during the week. When you start tracking, you start to balance that out. And it seems like every day you're actually eating a little more because on most days you probably are. And on the weekends, you're eating a lot less than you were. And the net effect for the average for the week is a deficit. Okay. A lot of this is mental. So as far as energy goes, you have to know what your maintenance calories are and what your deficit needs to be. Go listen to my recent episode called Your First Cut, Lose 10 to 30 pounds of fat, something like that. Your first cut. And I talk about these principles. All right. The second part of the triangle we can apply is the sustainability or the quality piece. This is where we choose a deficit that you can maintain consistently over time. It may be a slower rate of loss than you quote unquote want, right? But it will lead to you sticking with it and getting the result. I think I posted a Threads post recently. It said something like, unsuccessful people will say, I need to lose 20 pounds in 8 weeks. A successful person will say, how fast can I go where it's sustainable? And then how long will it take me to lose 20 pounds, right? There's a difference between the two. The third leg of the triangle then is the rate of loss, the time, right? Understanding that faster isn't always better. Effectively what I just said, a moderate sustainable rate of loss, like 0.5% of your body weight a week. That is what leads to you getting the outcome and sticking with it. And now you've got the triangle nicely balanced between energy, sustainability, and time. And you could actually get there rather than this weird, nebulous, uncertain state you were in before where you're like, I don't really know what I'm eating. I feel hungry sometimes, but not others. I'm probably binging on the weekends, but I'm not sure how much alcohol I had at the Mexican restaurant. This Fit Pro 22-year-old on Instagram says, I just need to eat more to lose weight. And lo and behold, I start eating more and I lose weight. Well, not really, right? Or probably you probably don't actually because you weren't accurately tracking before and now you are. All right. So the problem isn't that you're eating too little. It's you're not accurately tracking what you're eating, right? I've had clients come to me convinced they're eating 1,200 calories a day and not losing weight, right? I've cut my calories so low, I'm down to 1,100, I'm still not losing weight. One of the first questions I ask is, are you tracking? And usually the answer is, well, no, but, and right there, I know what the problem is. And so when we implement precise tracking, we discover they're consuming much more on average per day, right? On average. It might be 1,100 calories Monday through Friday, and then 2,000 calories on Saturday and Sunday, right? And so sometimes it's, hundreds of calories more than what they thought. And that is why the eat more advice is so dangerous and so misleading. Because if you're already eating more than you realize, if you just indiscriminately add more calories, it's going to move you further from your goal. You're going to start drifting up in weight. And now you're going to say, what the F? What is going on? That's nonsense. And it is. And if you can understand this and understand the iron triangle, that there's a balance between cost, quality, and schedule, or in our case, energy balance, sustainability, and rate of loss, then instead of blindly following advice to eat more, you find the right balance of those three things for your specific situation. So let me just recap. Eat more to lose weight is an oversimplification and usually completely false. The iron triangle, energy, sustainability, rate of loss, helps us understand the trade-offs involved in any weight loss strategy. Success comes from balancing these three, not from just increasing calories. And then tying this all together is accurate tracking and measuring, which is crucial to understand your true energy balance so that you can make informed decisions. All right, if today's episode resonated with you, if you found it interesting, if you're like, oh, I never thought of it that way before, the iron triangle, that's pretty cool. Or, now I understand why eating more to lose weight isn't what I thought it was, or why it may or may not work depending on your situation, I want you to just share this episode with a friend who's been struggling with the conflicting advice out there. We are skeptics of the industry here. I want more people to be, I'll call it enlightened, but really just to be inquisitive and curious, asking these questions and getting answers that apply to them, that have the nuance and context necessary to make them work in practice. So share it with a friend. If you want to take that next step and really, really support me, please give me a 5-star rating and review in Apple and Spotify. We don't get enough of those. Very few people actually take the time to do that. I understand there's friction involved, but it really doesn't take long. Just go right now in your podcast app as you're listening to me right this moment, scroll down to where it says write a review, click that button and give it 5 stars and type a little blurb, just what's on your mind. Hey, I love how this show XYZ. Done, send. I would really appreciate it. Until next time, keep using your wits, lifting those weights, and remember that in fat loss, as in engineering, it's all about finding the right balance. This is Philip Pape, and you've been listening to Wits and Weights. I'll talk to you next time.